My name is Joanna Tewa. I live in Victoria, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, in Canada. And the name of my project is Lamplight Report Sheets. This web application was inspired by the nurses that surround me. It provides a quick summarized information for each patient under a nurse during a shift. More of a time management improvement, if you may. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's create an account for a nurse and name it Mika. Yeah, let's say Mika. And she likes to be called Micey. Um, that's the password. And it matched and it worked. So the user was created, the account was created, and we will log in. So the start of shift and end of shift should be a duration of 8 hours. If you enter anything more or less than that, an error will be displayed. And the number of patients should be between 2 and 6. Then we have the username and the password, which naturally undergo the authentication. And once the user is authenticated, the user is directed to this page. Here you display the name of the nurse, the current date, the shift, and as well there is a countdown here just to remind the nurse how much time they have left during the shift. And once that is completed, an end of shift message is displayed. And irregardless if the nurse logs out intentionally or unintentionally, this countdown continues to decrement. And then we have this section here, which we have the patients. And if you see here, you have 6 patients because I had selected in the login page 6 patients. So what this application does, the number of patients that is submitted on the login page, it takes that number and it randomly selects that amount of patients from the database, and then it's displayed here. Naturally, what would happen, there will be a database that selects patients for the nurses, and that database will allocate it. And once the nurse comes here, they don't naturally select how many patients are under them. They're just allocated nurses. But for the purpose of this application, that is how I implemented that. And then you have here, this information will definitely inform more the nurse about the patients that they have to be taken care of. They have the names, the date of birth, sex, the status code, the diagnosis that actually brought them to the hospital, their medical history, allergies, the room number, of course, to find them, and just an additional picture of the patient to better identify them. And here as well, the nurse has the information of the medications that are required, and as well as more information here about the patient that will further help them understand their condition and their states. And as you can see, for each and every single patient, you have that and that and that. And there is a message here that I intentionally display for the nurse to monitor the patient 3 times in a day. I'll explain further if we come here in the patient overview page. This as well is a page that provides even more information on the health state of the patient, and that really informs the nurse, so they're better equipped to take care of them throughout the shift. And here are the fields that are monitored, and these are the matrix, and they are monitored 3 times a day at 7 a.m., 12 p.m., and 5 p.m. And that is where this message here comes in. So because I was not running the app throughout the day, so it starts at 7 a.m. because it's the first monitoring hour for the day. But for the sake of demonstration, it will be 7 a.m. But naturally, if your shift is at 8 p.m., as it is now the current time, you would probably not have this message displayed because it would have been displayed already earlier. So let's just demonstrate here. Let's say this becomes 27 and maybe it went up, and that's and 8, and let's just say they went back to exactly that. 90 maybe, 18, let's say they're in more pain now. And then once the nurse has filled in this form, they can submit that. And then once that is done, it's done. They know that, okay, this patient's 7 a.m. monitoring is done. They move on to the next patient and they feel that as well. I had already done that for Amanda, that's why it's not displaying. But I wanted to bring your attention to another message alert that displays on this page. And this is a medication alert. Nurses have so many patients under them, and it's just helpful to have a reminder of when a medication is due. So in this case, the patient sees, okay, Amanda needs a medication. She gives Amanda the medication and she's like, yep, it's all done. And you're done with this page. All the notifications, all the information you've read, and everything is covered. And so we've already covered the patient overview. Coming into the doctor and family page. This is very handy in case of emergency. The nurse has quick access to the patient's emergency contact instead of rambling around to get that. They have it right there with them in case of an emergency. And then we have the labs and medication. The labs and medication is it has two purposes. One, to provide an even deeper understanding of the patient's condition. And then the other one is the purpose of this page is also for a nurse to look at this date. And if this date falls on their shift date, then they have to prepare the patient for the procedures that they require for that lab testing or whatever it is. And then, so basically for this page, the doctors and family, as well as the labs and medication, those are two information that the nurse cannot alter. They have no access. They should not be permitted to access this information. So naturally, this will be taken from a different database. And then we have the last page, which is the end of shift report, which is required for every single patient. And what I've done here to save time for the nurses was I pre-filled the form with the information of the last entry on the database. So that would be the shift before this one. So in case nothing has changed, then the nurse doesn't necessarily need to be selecting or thinking of anything else, but you're just checking, okay, that's all correct. And then for the ones that I could not pre-fill because they do change, or they're like the date they're using an API, I just placed a reminder here so that in case they can't remember and they're in a hurry, they could quickly just check here, and that's it. So let me demonstrate how that will happen for Amanda Rahim. And that would be in still the same date. There is nothing there. There is nothing here there is nothing here as well. Let's say that was 70%. Let's say this is 70%. They didn't want to eat much in the night, perhaps. And they have no wounds, so no date here is required. And let's say they had their bowel movement at maybe 4 p.m. Well, that's very strange. Yeah, let's put it 4 p.m. because there you go. 4 p.m. And then let's just say that it was a normal bowel movement. And then you submit that and it's gone and Amanda is done. So you go now to Mark Anthony and you go to report sheets and you do the very same thing. Here you enter the information. And the other thing that I've added to the report sheets was, if we go back to Amanda, we had already submitted the form so that it will display that the message is submitted. This is to help the nurse remember, okay, I've already submitted that, so I don't have to work on that, and to help them not accident and to prevent them from accidentally refilling it for the same patient. I deactivated the form. And in case they had forgotten something, they can just go here and resubmit the form and it's reactivated. They fill it in and resubmit it. And yeah, and the other thing that I forgot to mention was this information here is actually the information as well of the shift before this one. So it would be the last entry on the database, just so that the current nurse is up to date with what has happened before they arrived. And that helps them just, have a better understanding and better serve the patients, because that's really the end goal of this, is to provide a more satisfactory patient to nurse relationship and service provision as well. And yeah, and that is the end of all that my application contains. Thank you very much.